Here on Translating Faith, we're building bridges to understanding, one conversation at a time. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Madison. I'm a Christian. I work in the nonprofit sector, and I'm also an ordained pastor. Our topic today is a big one. It's understanding deconstruction. What does it mean when faith changes? And I've got my tea ready because it's a big topic that we're going to dive into. So, deconstruction. I'm sure you've all heard the word. It's become a bit of a buzzword over the past few years, but it's often misunderstood also. So I want to peel back some of the layers and share what it really means and what it might lead to. So what is deconstruction? Now, I'm going to define it for myself because I went through it. Deconstruction is the breaking down of what we've previously known to be true, taking apart our beliefs, theories, concepts, systems, in order to fully understand its meaning. So why do we do it? Like I mentioned in earlier videos, there are a few key reasons why young people especially are leaving the church. And that's often due to trauma, church hypocrisy, doubt, etc. And so when young people leave, the next common step is to deconstruct what we know to be true, especially if we faced harm in the process or experienced some awakening of, this place doesn't feel quite right for me, or this church, something feels unsettled in my soul. Now, I'll briefly explain my own experience to kind of set the context, set the stage. Now, I was going to a church for many years. I was very involved. I was on the worship team. I volunteered. I even led a very popular and very long-running small group. And I liked the church at the time because it brought me to Christ in a new way than really I was used to. It was a brand new type of church that I hadn't really ever been to before. But I often called the church, and this was a compliment at the time because it's what I needed at the time, but I often called the church self-help with a side of Jesus. Now, at some point, this church stopped challenging me or teaching me about theology. And what started to happen also was that the world around us was changing drastically. A lot of terrifying things started to happen in the world and in my own community. And instead of talking about them from the pulpit, the church would, maybe make a brief mention of it in a prayer, and then go back to its regularly scheduled sermon series. It started to feel, and this is one of the key points I mentioned in the earlier video, it started to feel a little irrelevant to my life. And I'm sure it was still life-giving to many other people, but for me, it didn't hit home the way it used to. Now, I did go through a few years where I kept my faith, but I had fully left the church. I was really lost, and I was angry that I didn't have a faith community that was coming alongside me in my life. And then, and this is the key point, when I was ready, I came back to church life in a totally different way. In a brand new church, a new type of theology and liturgy. And my faith has never been stronger. So my point in sharing this is that I had to break down what it was about my own faith journey that wasn't serving me, that was causing me hurt. Because we have to dissect what isn't working. That really goes for every aspect of our lives, right? And I discovered that it was the type of church I was going to, the lack of liturgy in the service, the over-focus on entertainment versus Jesus, and then the lack of involvement in world traumas and collective suffering. Because at the time, everyone in the pews was suffering, and we weren't really talking about it. I was really craving a church that would talk about it. So after some deep reflection and yes, deconstruction, I found a new way. Now, I will say that for some, this process can lead to deconversion. And I will also say that sometimes deconstruction can lead to anger and major distance from the faith. But from my experience and from the experience of those around me, my friends and colleagues and many pastor friends of mine, deconstruction often leads to reconstruction. And reconstruction is the process of building a new, more authentic faith after deconstruction. It's really a resurrection, so to speak. And the faith that is usually reconstructed is often stronger, because faith is really only as strong as it's been tested. And I talked about that previously when we talked a little bit about doubt. And so when you've experienced doubt and confusion and the sort of questioning of beliefs, and you come out on the other side with a beautiful, authentic, new way of living with Jesus, it's a transformation like no other. So remember, if the young people in your life, whether it's your kids, your friends, your neighbors, your peers, if they're going through deconstruction, try not to worry. It's a natural process. And really, it's been going on for hundreds of years, but it's only now that we've given it a name. And the name can sometimes scare people, which I understand. But I promise you, it doesn't have to be scary. Let the young people in your life examine their faith, examine their church, examine their pastor even, and let the Holy Spirit guide them towards something more authentic, more true, and more aligned with the Jesus way. In our next video, we will talk about inclusivity isn't anything goes, translating why your kids and other young people seek affirming spaces. Until then, I'm Madison, and this is Translating Faith.